Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to another class on popular literature and culture. So, we have been dealing with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in the last few classes. So, this is your third video in this lecture series. So, what I am giving you is actually a very detailed summary of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, one of my personal favorite books in this series. So we have already covered about 50% of the book in the past two videos, and if you haven't watched the previous videos, I would advise you to stop this right here and right now and go and watch the other videos before going ahead to this video. So welcome once again to this video on Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So in the previous video, we stopped where Harry, Hermione, Ron and Neville discover that their school, a particular corridor, is guarded by a three-headed dog, and it is standing on a trap door and apparently guarding something very valuable or dangerous. So let's now go on to the 10th chapter titled Halloween. So Harry now shares his doubts about vault number 713 with Ron because he knows that on the day he visited the Gringotts bank with Hagrid, Hagrid emptied out the contents, and he shares his doubts that whatever has been emptied out of that particular vault, that might be what is protected by the three-headed dog in Hogwarts at the moment. So the very next day, Harry receives a long parcel. It is delivered by 6 owls, and everybody is really curious about the contents of this parcel. And it turned out to be a surprise for Harry. It was a stylish looking Nimbus 2000 broomstick. This was a gift from Professor McGonagall because Harry has been chosen as the youngest seeker in a century, and he needs a broomstick to play Quidditch. So that evening, Harry starts Quidditch training with the Quidditch captain, Oliver Wood. So they are practicing in the Quidditch pitch. Now, this Quidditch pitch itself, it has a raised stadium because everybody has to see what is going on in the air. This game is actually played in the air on broomsticks. So the pitch is actually, the stadium is raised and there is a pitch, and on two sides of the pitch there are three golden poles each, and these golden poles has hoops. So Oliver Wood explains the rules of the game. Now let's see what the rules of the games are. So there are 7 players on each team. 3 players are called chasers. In each team there are 3 chasers. Now what the chasers do is they throw a big red ball named Quaffle to each other, and they try to score goals using this red ball by getting it through one of those hoops. So there are 6 hoops on each side of the pitch, and it is the duty of the chasers to score the goal by getting it through one of the hoops. And there is one keeper. The keeper is actually like a goalie in football. He or she will try to guard the hoops, and there will be 2 beaters in each team. The beaters will be trying to protect the team from getting knocked off, because there is another ball they used to play Quidditch. It is called a bludger. Bludger is a black ball. These are really violent balls. The bludgers will try to knock people off their brooms, and the beaters are in charge of protecting the people in their team. And there is one seeker. Seeker is the last member of the Quidditch team. Seeker has only one duty. There is one last ball used in Quidditch. It is a very tiny ball. It is a small golden ball. It has wings too. This particular ball is called the snitch, and the seeker is supposed to catch the snitch, and the Quidditch game will end only when the seeker catches the snitch, and the snitch will have 150 points. It's worth 150 points, and only then will the Quidditch game end. And Harry again reads about Quidditch, and he finds that there have been Quidditch games which went on for 3 months and all, because the snitch was not caught. So after the practice session, Harry really enjoys playing Quidditch and practicing Quidditch. And the captain also feels confident that now that they have a really good seeker in Harry Potter, their team, the Gryffindor team, will definitely win Quidditch Cup after many years. For 7 years, they haven't won any matches. So these are some of the balls used in Quidditch. So this is the smallest ball, the snitch. It is gold and it has wings. And this is the bludger. There will be two bludgers used in a game. This is the one which knocks off players off their broomsticks. And this is a quaffle. This is used to play, used to score the goals. And this is actually just a football. So just to know the size of these balls in comparison. So by this time, Harry has completed 2 months in Hogwarts, and the time actually goes really fast because Harry has a lot of lessons to learn and Quidditch practices and everything. And he starts feeling at home in Hogwarts. This is actually his first real home. He never felt at home with Dursleys. So then comes Halloween. Halloween is actually a festival in the West. And on Halloween morning, they learn a new spell in Professor Flitwick's charms class. This lesson is actually on levitation spell. That is, it is used to make objects fly. So Ron and Hermione, they are paired together and they have a fallout during the class because Hermione is apparently a know-it-all. She tries to correct everything and Ron is not very happy with it. And Ron talks ill about Hermione and she overhears this after the class. She gets emotional, she runs away and she locks herself in the girls' toilet all day. She doesn't even come out to the Halloween feast. So all the students are outside in the hall. They are enjoying the feast. All of a sudden, something happens. Professor Quirrell, he sprints into the hall. He's apparently very panicked. And he announces that something called a troll has come out of the dungeons. Now all the students get panicked. Harry doesn't know what this troll is. But by the reaction of the students, he understands that the troll is actually a dangerous magical creature. Now all the panicked students, they are running here and there, but they are ordered by the headmaster, Albus Dumbledore, to go to their dormitories. But Harry and Ron, all of a sudden, they remember that Hermione is all alone in the bathroom and they also feel a little guilty, especially Ron, because it's because of Ron that Hermione has locked herself in the bathroom. Now they feel guilty and they try to go and get her. But on the way, they encounter the troll. Now, this troll is a 12 feet tall giant. It has dull granite skin and it looks like two boulders stacked on each other. It has a very lumpy body and it smells horrible. But unknowingly, the boys lock the troll in the girls' bathroom, and that is where Hermione is at the moment. But they realize that Hermione is now trapped with the troll, and the boys go back and try to rescue her. Hermione is trapped. The troll is trying to beat her, trying to get her, and the boys try to distract the troll. Harry actually tries to get on the neck of the troll, and Harry stabs the troll in the nose with his wand. And Ron successfully, with the help of Hermione, uses the levitation skill, that is swish and flick, Wingardium Leviosa. That is the levitation spell, along with the wrist movement, swish and flick. Now Ron has successfully raised the troll's club. It is a very heavy piece of wood that the troll was carrying. The troll's club is actually raised above the troll's head, and he makes it hit the troll, and the troll is now knocked unconscious. And now the kids are discovered by three professors, McGonagall, Snape and Quirrell. And now McGonagall is really angry at the boys and the girl for coming out on their own. But Hermione does something. She defends the boys. She says that she was actually the one who came on the lookout for the troll. She was hoping to beat the troll herself, and the boys came and rescued her in time. So after the incident, they got punishment and they also got points for this particular feat of bravery. And after the incident, the three of them became best friends. So let's see some quotes from this chapter. This is a quotation from when Harry goes into Quidditch practice with Oliver Wood. Wood reached into the crate and took out the fourth and last ball. Compared with the quaffle and the bludgers, it was tiny, about the size of a large walnut. It was bright gold and had little fluttering silver wings. This, said Wood, is the golden snitch, and it's the most important ball of the lot. It's very hard to catch because it's so fast and difficult to see. It's the seeker's job to catch it. Now here we see Harry encountering a snitch for the first time. Snitch, the golden ball, which is supposed to be caught by the seeker, that is Harry. And another quotation from the same chapter: there are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them. This is the last line in this particular chapter. This is about how Hermione, Ron, and Harry became best friends after knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll. Let's now move on to the 11th chapter of the book, titled Quidditch. So now it has come to November month, and the weather turns very cold, and Harry Potter has his first Quidditch match happening in November. He is both nervous and frightened, but he has the company and support of his two friends now, Hermione and Ron. So the day before the game, they encounter Snape. Snape seems to be limping a little, and the kids wonder what is wrong with his leg. So the next day, Harry accidentally sees Snape, and Snape is nursing a wound on his leg. And he hears Snape talk to Filch that the wound was caused by the three-legged dog. So they now know that Snape tried to get past the three-legged dog. So next day, Harry becomes really nervous. He marches into the Quidditch pitch, and the stadium is filled with people who are either cheering for Harry or cheering against Harry. So the Quidditch team, the Gryffindor Quidditch team, the members are Oliver Wood, the captain, the Weasley twins, George and Fred Weasley, Ron's older brothers, Angelina Johnson, Alicia Spinnet, Katie Bell, and Harry. The Slytherin team, they look a little bit threatening, menacing. But as the game starts, Harry starts feeling good. He doesn't feel nervous anymore. So the Gryffindor team actually scores 2 goals at the start itself. And Harry, he's not part of the main game. He's actually hovering above the rest of the team. He's looking for the snitch. Suddenly, he feels like he has seen the snitch, and he tries to chase the snitch. But suddenly, something happens to his broom. His broom begins lurching. The broom is actually trying to buck him off, and he's almost off the broom. He's hanging on the broom. And in the audience, Ron and Hermione suddenly sees what is happening to Harry's broom. They use the binoculars to look at the audience. Who is making Harry's broom do this? And they see Snape, Professor Snape. Snape is muttering something, some incantations at Harry. So they are sure that Snape is actually trying to knock Harry off his broom. And Hermione immediately goes to Snape's gallery, and on the way, Hermione accidentally knocks off Professor Quirrell, and she lights Snape's cloak on fire, and this stops Snape's incantations. And at the moment, Harry's broom steadies, and Harry gets back on the broom. He sights the golden snitch. He chases after it, and before he can catch it with his hand, however, he catches it with his mouth. He accidentally almost swallows the snitch, and thus Gryffindor wins the match. So on his first match itself, Harry Potter has successfully led Gryffindor to a victory. Now the people are happy. Gryffindors are really happy. And after the game, Ron, Harry, and Hermione, they pay a visit to Hagrid, and they discuss Snape again with Hagrid. They share their worries that Snape was trying to cause some trouble to Harry. But this again is brushed aside by Hagrid. How can you even say that? Professor Snape is actually your teacher. And now they reveal to Hagrid that they know all about the three-headed dog. And they also reveal their suspicions about Snape, that Snape got hurt by the three-legged dog. So Snape was actually trying to steal whatever is being guarded by the three-legged dog. Now Hagrid accidentally calls the dog Fluffy. Now the kids know that this dog is actually Hagrid's dog, the three-headed dog. And again, Hagrid very accidentally reveals that don't go looking for whatever is guarded by the dog. Whatever is going on there, it is a business between Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. Now they also got another piece of information. Whatever is being guarded in the castle by the dog Fluffy, it belongs to a person called Nicholas Flamel. So at the end of this chapter, let's look at another quotation from this book, from this particular chapter. So this is from the Quidditch match itself. Harry was speeding towards the ground when the crowd saw him clap his hand to his mouth as though he was about to be sick. He hit the pitch on all fours and coughed, and something gold fell into his hand. "I've got the snitch!" he shouted, waving it above his head, and the game ended in complete confusion. Now, this is where Harry catches the snitch with his mouth instead of his hand. Now we have come to the 12th chapter of the book, The Mirror of Erised. The Mirror of Erised. So let's see what this chapter is about. So now Christmas is approaching. In the last chapter, it was in November. Now it's December and almost time for Christmas. Hogwarts grounds are covered with snow, and Harry is having a lot of fun. The fires are lit indoors, and children are preparing to go home. But Harry decides not to go home to his uncle and aunt and cousin. Besides, the Weasley brothers are also staying because their parents are off to visit their brother Charlie in Romania. So ever since they heard about Nicholas Flamel, Harry, Hermione and Ron have been trying to find out who this Nicholas Flamel is. They racked through all the books in the library, but they haven't been successful in finding out who Nicholas Flamel is. But Harry feels sure that he has heard this name Nicholas Flamel somewhere. Now, Hermione is preparing to go home for Christmas, but she entrusts Harry and Ron to use the vacation in the library to find out about this Nicholas Flamel. And she even advises the boys to check out the restricted section in the library. Now, restricted section, you need permission from a professor to access this section. So the boys, in the meantime, they spend a lot of time with each other playing wizard chess. Now, wizard chess is kind of like the common chess, except for the fact that the figures actually are alive and they follow verbal instructions from the players. You just need to give them command and they'll move about by themselves. You don't have to literally pick up and move the figures. So on Christmas morning, Hermione has now left. Harry, to his surprise, he finds that there is a small pile of presents on the foot of his bed. This is the first time he is receiving gifts in his life. And he opens them one by one. He's so excited. And he looks at Ron's bed and there is an even bigger pile there. So the first gift he opens is a handmade wooden flute from Hagrid. The second gift is very small. It's from his aunt and uncle. It's just a mere 50 pence. And the third gift is quite surprising because this is from Ron's mom. It's a handmade green jumper. Ron's mom apparently makes jumpers for all her kids on Christmas. And the fourth present is what really excites her. The fourth present is actually Hermione's chocolates. And the fifth present, that is actually what really excites him. It is from an anonymous sender. There is no note saying who it is from. But this is a parcel, and when he opens it, he finds a silvery grey clock. This is actually an invisibility clock. As he puts it on, he finds that his body has disappeared. He can't see anything. His body has completely disappeared. And there is a note along with it which says that his father, Harry's father, left it in the possession of the sender, and now it is time for Harry to use it. And it also contains an instruction, use it well. So Harry again decides to use the invisibility clock well. So he has the best Christmas of his life in Hogwarts because there's a delicious and scrumptious dinner, and he gets gifts from his school and his friends. He has a snowball fight with the Weasleys and a game of chess with Ron. And that night, everybody has gone to sleep, but Harry decides to use his invisibility clock for the first time. He decides to go to the library wearing this, especially to the restricted section. He reaches the library. he's holding up a lantern, and he picks up and opens a book, but the book starts screaming loud, and Harry puts it back, but the book is still screaming, and he's afraid that Filch, the caretaker, might spot him. And he even hears Filch and Professor Snape coming to examine who came to the library. And he rushes past corridors, and he feels like Filch and Snape are coming very near. Now he has reached near a suit of armor, and he finds that the door is slightly open, so he goes into the door and shuts the door. Now he finds himself in a disused classroom. On one side of the classroom he finds a pile of desks and chairs, and against a wall he finds a magnificent looking mirror, a very tall mirror. It has an ornate gold frame, and on top of the mirror there is a detailed inscription, and it is actually in a cryptic language. Harry doesn't understand what this inscription is. Now Harry looks into the mirror. At first he doesn't even see his own reflection, but as he moves closer to the mirror he sees that there are some people behind him. He looks back, but he sees that there is no people. He's alone in the room, there's nobody else. Then he looks into the mirror again to look at who these people are standing behind him. He sees a very warm looking, a kind looking woman behind him. She has red hair, and she has a very kind look. She's smiling at Harry, and she has the exact same green eyes as Harry. Harry recognizes that this woman is Harry's mother, his dead mother, and there is a man standing next to him. He almost looks like Harry, especially the hair and all, and he recognizes that it is his father. And then again, he continues to look and he sees that there are a lot of other people standing behind them who seem to be his family, his uncles, aunts, people who he hasn't seen yet, his grandparents and all. So he is so enamored by this mirror at this point. He stood there for a long time enjoying the company of his family. Now, hours later, he decides to return to the dormitory. So when Ron awakes, he tells Ron everything about his encounter with this magical mirror. And the next night, he brings Ron to the room. Ron is also very excited to meet Harry's family. But instead of seeing Harry's family, Ron actually, when he looks into the mirror, he sees himself as a head boy and the Quidditch captain, to be in general as a very successful person. So they surmise that the mirror might show whatever the person really wants to see. So that night on the way back, they barely escape being caught by Filch. And this makes Ron tell Harry not to go back to the mirror. But on the third night, Harry again goes to the mirror. He sneaks out. But when he reaches there, he finds that there is somebody else already waiting there. That is Professor Dumbledore. Now, Professor Dumbledore explains to Harry that this mirror is called the Mirror of Erised. Now, if you read the word Erised backwards, it is desire. So it's actually the mirror of desire, because it shows the person who looks in it their deepest desires, their heart's desires. Now Dumbledore gives Harry an advice not to come looking for the mirror, because the mirror will be moved from there immediately. And he also explains the dangers of being enamored with the mirror. He says that if you spend a lot of time looking in the mirror or dwelling in the past, you will forget to live in the present. So that brings us to the end of this chapter, and let's look at this quotation from this chapter. Harry was looking at his family for the first time in his life. The Potter smiled and waved at Harry, and he stared hungrily back at him. His hands pressed flat against the glass as though he was hoping to fall right through it and reach them. He had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. Now you see here how much of sadness and happiness Harry is actually facing at this time when he sees his family behind him. He's an orphan boy. He's craving for a family. We can see that pain in this particular lines. There's another quote from the same chapter. This is what Dumbledore tells Harry. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that. So let's now move on to chapter 13, Nicholas Flamel. So the holidays have ended, and Harry, ever since he stopped going to see the mirror, he starts becoming depressed. and he gets nightmares too. Now Hermione gets back from holidays, and Harry and Hermione and Ron, they get busy with schoolwork, and Harry with Quidditch practice too. And one of these days, something happens to Neville. Neville is bullied and hexed by Malfoy, and Harry tries to calm Neville. He gives Neville one of his chocolate frogs, and Neville returns the card which comes along with the chocolate frog. And the card again is Dumbledore's description. And when he reads it, it says something about Nicholas Flamel. Now they discover from the card that Nicholas Flamel is actually Dumbledore's partner in his work on a subject called alchemy. Now, Hermione further finds from a book she has that Nicholas Flamel is the only non-maker of the Philosopher's Stone. Now, they have finally discovered what is being guarded by the three-faced dog, three-headed dog. It is the Philosopher's Stone, and Nicholas Flamel is the only maker of Philosopher's Stone. So they surmise that it might be Philosopher's Stone that is hidden in the castle. So around the same time, the Gryffindors get a really bad news that Snape is actually going to be the referee in the next Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. But in the days that followed, wherever Harry went, he kept having encounters with Professor Snape. He even feels like Snape is actually following him. And on the day of the march, Ron and Hermione come prepared in order to help Harry if he ends up in some kind of trouble because of Snape. They come prepared. However, Harry actually successfully finishes the game. Within 5 minutes, he catches the golden snitch with such ease and finesse. And after the match, everybody is happy. There's going to be a celebration. But Harry goes to put away the broom in the broom shed. But there he spots Snape, who is walking towards the Forbidden Forest. Now Harry becomes really curious, and he decides to follow him. And Harry follows the professor on his broomstick, and he sees him going to the thick Forbidden Forest. He's following him in the air on the broomstick, and he sees that Professor Snape meets with Professor Quirrell in the forest. And Snape seems to be threatening Quirrell, and they are discussing about Philosopher's Stone. So they become sure that whatever is hidden in the castle is indeed Philosopher's Stone. And then he comes back to the common room and he discusses it with his friends, Ron and Hermione. And they all presume that in addition to Fluffy, there might be other layers of protection on the stone. And Snape must be trying to steal Philosopher's Stone, and he's trying to get Quirrell's help or something regarding that. So that is what they surmise. So let's see this particular quotation from the chapter. This is from a book which Hermione pulls about Nicholas Flamel. Let me read it for you. The ancient study of alchemy is concerned with making the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary substance with astonishing powers. The stone will transform any metal into pure gold. It also produces the elixir of life, which will make the drinker immortal. There have been many reports of the Philosopher's Stone over the centuries, but the only stone currently in existence belongs to Mr. Nicholas Flamel, the noted alchemist and opera lover. Mr. Flamel, who celebrated his 665th birthday last year, enjoys a quiet life in Devon with his wife, Pernille, who is 658. So you see see what is the branch of alchemy. Alchemy is concerned with discovering Philosopher's Stone. And Philosopher's Stone is actually a very strong substance. It will make any metal into pure gold. That is one of the uses. And the second use, it is also used to make a drink called elixir of life. And if you drink it, you will become immortal. You won't die. And this particular Nicholas Flamel, he is at the time 665 years old, and his wife is 658 years old. So now let's move on to the next chapter, 14th chapter, titled Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. So ever since they find out that Professor Snape has been threatening Quirrell, they keep a very close eye on Snape, and especially on the third floor corridor, to see if the Philosopher's Stone is intact and Fluffy is still there. Now there is exams, the end of the year exams are approaching in less than 3 months, and you know that Hermione is such a bookworm. They start preparing for the exams under Hermione's plan too. So they are very busy at the moment. And while they are in the library preparing for the exams, they meet Hagrid in the library. Hagrid is trying to sneak out a book about dragons, and they find that he has been reading about dragon breeding. Now, dragon breeding is illegal in Britain, and they decide to pay him a visit to see what is actually going on. And as they go into the hut, they find that the hut is actually warmer than usual. Hagrid is keeping the hut warmer than usual, and to their surprise, they find that over the fire, Hagrid is keeping a dragon's egg. Now, Hagrid admits that he got the egg from a stranger he met in a bar in the village. Now, the kids try to warn him. They say that it's illegal and you cannot keep a dragon baby in a wooden hut because it will burn the whole hut down. But Hagrid is very adamant on his plan to hatch the dragon egg. And he admits that it belongs to a breed called Norwegian Ridgeback. And they learned from Ron that there are some breeds of dragons even in Britain, but the Ministry of Magic tries to keep them down, not to let them be noticed by muggles. So they also find from Hagrid that the Philosopher's Stone has many layers of protection. The layers are provided by professors like Sprout, Flitwick, McGonagall, Quirrell, even Snape and Dumbledore. And Hagrid is the only one who knows how to get past the Fluffy, the three-headed dog. So then next week, they are awaiting news from Hagrid. So next week they get an owl from Hagrid. It says that it's hatching. It means that the dragon baby is prepared to come out. Now, while they are discussing this, Malfoy overhears them. And Ron, Hermione, and Harry, they skip classes and they visit Hagrid's hut. They come in time to see the egg hatching and a baby dragon has come out. But at the same time, Hagrid is so excited to see his new dragon baby. He even calls himself Mummy to the dragon baby. But Hagrid spots Malfoy at the window. Malfoy has seen the baby dragon and he is now running to the school. And the whole of next week, Malfoy doesn't reveal anything to anybody. But he smiles every time in a very evil manner every time he sees the three people. So Hagrid, in the meantime, he is enjoying his time with his dragon baby. He names the baby dragon Norbert. And him and the trio, Harry, Hermione, and Ron, they have been taking care of the baby dragon. It has also grown a little bit since hatching. Now, Harry suggests that Hagrid cannot keep this dragon in this house. It will grow really big. It's not possible to be kept in such a small house. Now, Harry gives a suggestion that Hagrid can send the dragon off to Romania to live with Charlie. Charlie is Ron's brother who is actually a caretaker of dragons there. A caretaker, a trainer, you can call him whatever. And they decide to write to Charlie regarding this, and they actually eventually get a reply from Charlie that he is ready to take the dragon baby. So the next week, another week goes by. Now Ron gets a dragon bite while trying to feed Norbert. Now it makes him very sick. He has to even go to the hospital wing. He gets hospitalized. In the meantime, Charlie has sent an owl. He says that his friends would be passing by Hogwarts, and Norwegian Ridgeback is actually an illegal dragon to be found in Britain, and they cannot do everything publicly. So his friends will be passing by Hogwarts the next Saturday, and Charlie gives instructions to the students, to the kids, to bring the dragon to the tallest tower at midnight on the next Saturday. Now, this letter is actually kept inside Ron's notebook, and this notebook is actually procured by Malfoy. Now, Malfoy is aware of the whole plan about the dragon exchange, but now it is too late to change the plan as well. So they decide to go ahead with this plan. Now, on next Saturday, Hagrid is really sad that he has to part with Norbert. He very tearfully packs Norbert in a very large crate. And Ron is now in the hospital. So Harry and Hermione have to take the dragon under the invisibility cloak up to the tall tower. Now Malfoy, who is aware of this plan, He's waiting for them there. They have a great difficulty carrying this crate under the invisibility cloak and everything. Now Malfoy is waiting for them there, but because they are invisible, they are not seen by the boy. But Professor McGonagall catches Malfoy. But even when Malfoy says that somebody is bringing a dragon, it is not believed by McGonagall. And Malfoy gets detention, a punishment. So anyway, they wait for Charlie's friends, and in 10 minutes, Charlie's friends, four of them, arrive in four different broomsticks, and they have some kind of a harness, and they suspend the dragon's crate using ropes and all in the harness, and they successfully see off Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. And they are so thrilled and happy at their accomplishment. Harry and Hermione comes down the tower, and they forget their invisibility cloak, and they find themselves caught by Filch. Now they end up in trouble because of this incident. Let's look at another quotation from this chapter. So this particular quotation is the part where we see the dragon egg hatching. All at once there was a scraping noise, and the egg split open. The baby dragon flopped on to the table. It wasn't exactly pretty. Harry thought it looked like a crumpled black umbrella. Its spiny wings were huge compared to its skinny jet body, and it had a long snout with wide nostrils, stubs of horns, and bulging orange eyes. It sneezed. A couple of sparks flew out of its snout. Now, this is the part where you see that dragon egg hatching, and it's not a cute baby dragon. It's actually quite weird looking. It even has some sparks flying out of its nose. So that brings us to the end of this lesson today. We have now covered 75% of the book in summary. So in the next video, we will be finishing this. The summary of this book, which will be followed by certain discussions of these books. So I hope you enjoyed these classes and that this video was beneficial for you guys. Stay tuned for more videos. Have fun. Thank you again for watching. Have a nice day ahead. Bye.